Civilization 7's Modern Age is finally here, and I just want to say it right off the top, this stream was fucking awesome. The crew at Firaxis was back on the Civ 7 marketing grind. Carl was back from paternity leave to give us 2 hours of gameplay goodness into Civilization 7's Modern Age. As always, because the internet works best in binaries, I'm going to go over the best and the worst things in this live stream based on my personal opinion. Maybe we liked or disliked different things. I just got to say at the top, though, this is mostly best. There was not a lot of worst that happened. I really love this stream. I want to talk up front just about how everything looked because it contains the best and the worst, and there are very few worst, so I want to juggle them at the beginning. I'm a really big fan of Civilization 6's art design, and I really loved the Civilization 7 art design from when they announced it. It's just not quite my cup of tea the same way Civ 6's is. However, the more I see of this game, the further we progress in the game, the more I'm falling in love with the art design, specifically how the art of the ages builds on top of each other. Looking at the empires in these modern ages, I could see, without knowing any information about the game that was played, I could like visually see on the map what had happened to take the empire from where it started to where it ended, which is not only just a huge success of the art team, it's a huge success of the narrative-driven nature of Civilization, so I loved the way the game looked. Separately, though, there's also a worst in here. I just really don't like the way the resource icons looked. We got to see so many more resource icons. If you were here for my Antiquity Age stream, you'll know how I felt about the horse icon with like the blue background. The resource icons just aren't doing it for me. They don't look good. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just my brain is not computing, but I think the rest of everything looks great. There's something about the resource icons that just does not match what is going on visually, and it looks like a tacky add-on on top of a beautiful game, and I just can't wrap my mind around the way the resource icons look. That's fine. I'll get used to them. It's not a big deal, but it's definitely something that every stream has stood out to me. I'm like, why on earth do they look like that? Let's talk about victory conditions for a second, because victory conditions were something that we already knew what they would be, but we got a lot more details into them in this live stream. I really enjoyed the kind of deep dive into these victory conditions. We won't know until we play them how they feel, but based on how they were described, I like how you achieved each victory condition. I liked seeing the legacy paths. I liked hearing, or at least later in the stream, my interpretation was, if you've been following one legacy path the entire time, so science, culture, economy, etc., you will have an easier time achieving that victory in the modern age. There'll be some bonuses that kind of carry over, plus your legacy, cards or whatever you want to spend your points on. But if you want to pivot in the modern age, you want to go for a completely new victory type 2 that is open to you. I like the way they looked. I like how different they felt. I like how you achieved them. I like how progressing towards a victory also progresses the timer of the age in the top left. That was a really cool thing that I'm sure existed in the other eras, but I just hadn't clocked quite yet. Everything about the 4 different victory conditions, what we learned about them was exciting to me, so I really enjoyed them. The next best thing, and these are not in any particular order, it's just kind of as I wrote them down in my notes, was the espionage system. I don't know a lot about it. I like the idea of influence being a kind of stackable resource that you can spend. It just seemed like the influence system or the espionage system, or how the influence gets used in good or negative ways, was much more well thought out, much more intuitive, a much more seamless experience as I was watching them use the system. We got to see some unique leader abilities and how they interacted with the system, which was awesome. Now, obviously, when you are playing against Civ AI, you are going to find ways to exploit it. You're going to find like the things that are best. You're going to find your like diplomatic pathway through the game. But everything about the way influence was used as a currency just seemed like a much better system than what we have in Civ 6, which frankly is like a bunch of nonsense. Like, I don't understand how the grievances work. They kind of don't matter at all until they matter a ton. The gossip system is just nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot in Civ 6 that you can just completely ignore it and not care about it at all, and your gameplay experience will not be impacted in any way, shape, or form, right? It's actually like a worse experience if you start thinking about it. And so this whole espionage influence system just seemed way more intuitive, way more fun, way more exciting, and I'm sure it'll get fleshed out more over time, but it just seems like a great replacement for the system we had in Civ 6, which I didn't enjoy very much. Everything we learned about warfare was another highlight for me. As you get further into a Civ game, in previous Civ games, it's just a lot of units and a lot of clicks, and I really enjoyed continuing to learn more about a lot of these systems, being introduced to like the air system and the anti-air system and the aircraft carriers and everything. A lot of different commander units that can kind of like suck up your units together. We can travel by railroad. We can get around a lot more easily. We can click one button to have like 4 bombers go and bomb cities and whatnot. The whole thing just seemed a lot more intuitive, a lot more fun, a lot less of a nuisance on a turn-by-turn basis. So it seemed, I will say, it seemed like a lot for us to wrap our head around. There was a lot of different commanders that could do different things. I was having a hard time piecing together, like, if I want to get a land unit from here to the other side, do I put it in a regular commander and then have that commander swim? Do I put it on the aircraft carrier, but that's for aircrafts, but it's also the naval commander? And then do I unpack it there back into another? Like, there's a lot of different commanders. The aerodrome was also kind of a commander, but not a commander. And so, like, there was a lot there that might be a worst, depending on how it feels when we play. It was a very complicated for me to, like, wrap my head around, but I'm really stupid, so that's pretty fair. But I won't hold it against the game because it seems a lot more intuitive than the system we currently have. So everything we learned about warfare, I enjoyed. It was also fun to see Carl Barian just bomb cities. That's kind of what I want out of my Civ 7 live streams. So yeah, that was awesome. Factories and railroads seemed awesome and also seemed super abusable. As they were explaining railroads and factory resources, I could not stop thinking, holy shit, the Spiffing Brit is going to have like a time with this game. We're going to be 3 days in to Civ 7, and the Spiffing Brit is going to have a video about how to exploit one of the resources. You have like 10 resources that the factory is producing to give like a stacked bonus effect on. You can see the abusability in the system there. But everything we learned about the factories was awesome. I really enjoyed the idea that these resources are different over time. Each era has its own resources. Some carry over, some are new. Once you get the factories online, those resources will give you a bonus if you work them in a factory for each one of those that you have. I still love the fact that we're assigning them to different cities. That's incredible. So everything we learned about the factories, the factory resources, how that combines for an economic victory condition, I thought was super cool. If you had asked me what I wanted in an economic victory condition in like Civ 6, I would have said something around like gold or banking or having to put away a certain amount of gold, maybe like having to like stash a certain amount of gold from the empire in like a stock exchange somewhere. You know what I mean? Like having to invest a certain amount of gold in the World Bank or something like that. This seemed like a much more creative way to achieve an economy via imports, exports, resources, factories, instead of just like the financial health of an empire. So I thought that whole thing was really, really well done, and I really enjoyed it. Another best and worst combo here. Now, I'm just going to get on my high horse and say I know nothing about game development. I have no idea why the system is the way it is. All I'm saying is that it annoys me, which is a feeling that I have, which is valid, even if the reason why makes sense. All right? In Civ 7, we watched it as one of America's abilities as like a prospector unit. You can go to the 4th or 5th tile as long as it's a resource, and bring that into your empire with a prospecting unit. So it's possible. It is possible in Civ 7 to go to the 4th and 5th tile of an empire and bring that into your empire. Right? What blows my brain, like what blows my mind that I cannot comprehend, and this annoys me so much in Civ 6, is why on earth can our cities continue to grow into tiles they cannot work? Now, this might be different in Civ 7, right? Maybe the city can only grow into 3 tiles, but every time I play a Civ game and your city's done growing, you've got all the 3rd ring of tiles, so now your city keeps growing into the 4th and 5th ring, you can't go and work those tiles. It makes no sense, but you kind of can, because in Civ 6, for no reason whatsoever, you can still like collect strategic resources because you're not having to put a worker there. But if the tile can be in your city, why can't we just use it like a normal tile? Like, I just don't understand how any of that works, and I'm sure it's a game code thing. So a big dub, a big win for Civ 7 is that those 4th and 5th tiles can be used. It sucks that it's just with prospecting units in America. What I hope doesn't happen, though, is I hope we don't continue to have cities that can grow into tiles that they cannot use. It makes no sense. It feels bad. It stinks. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand why it exists, and it really bugs me in Civ 6. So happy to hear 4th and 5th tiles are playing a bigger role, at least in some part of the game. Unhappy to see that it kind of seems like we're still rolling with the same city system of having like the 3 tiles that are workable, but your city will just continue to grow into 4th and 5th ones. If that's wrong and the cities are going to cap out at the 3rd ring and no longer grow, I'd be a very happy boy. I'm hoping that's the case. I suspect that it's not, but you know what? I'll take the small win I can get with the prospecting unit. The next thing that I absolutely loved for so many reasons that I'm sure you all did as well, it was a real highlight, was the railroad system. I loved the 1-tile rail stations. I like how you could build them in cities and in towns. I like like how, thank God, it automatically built the railroad. God bless the railroad system of not having to like click every turn with the military engineer is gone. I really enjoyed that. I liked how we could teleport units through railroads, like through rail stations, but up to a certain limit. To me, it was the best mix of like making the game easier to play and a little more functional without having to like hike a lot of units around the map, but without making it so you can just teleport your whole empire everywhere at one time. It felt like a good mix to me. I'm sure there's going to be some like use case scenario where that's abusable, but it just seemed like a really cool way to use what was like a real world changing technology in the railroad system as a way to feel like a real world changing technology in Civ 7, but without making it feel like too much of a burden, like something that you kind of, oh, I have to do this, right? It kind of felt intuitive. It felt like it was going to happen naturally. It felt like something you were going to like want to do and be excited to do. And teleporting the units around seemed really amazing. There was some of that in like Civ 6 a little bit, where you could teleport between vampire castles, you could teleport between aerodromes. Sometimes, I believe. But yeah, this just seemed like a really good system. How it interacted with the economic victory condition, because I think it needs to be connected by rail and have a factory and be processing factory goods to get those economic victory points. So everything about the railroad system just sounded amazing. It looked amazing. It looked like it was fun to play, which was really exciting. And finally, the biggest achievement of this live stream in terms of hyping me up for Civ 7 actually wasn't any of the specific mechanics at all. It was the overall feel of the modern age. As I've been going through these live streams, I've been more hyped than I was before I went into them. So I thought all the live streams are really good, and that's reflective of the fact that I always do these and I have more bests than I do have worsts, right? Like I end these more excited to play Civ 7 than when I began, which is kind of the whole point. For the Antiquity Age, I was excited. It's nice to learn new things about Civ. You're kind of getting into the game a little bit. I was like, yeah, that was a really good stream. I enjoyed that. With the Exploration Age, I have a few more questions. The Exploration Age is still where almost 100% of my concerns for this game are. I still have a lot of giant question marks around how the Exploration Age works, but it felt like a natural progression of the Antiquity Age, where it's like, okay, now we're exploring, now we're moving on, now we're adding more, we're adding religion, we're treasure fleets, like we're doing a little bit more with the game. And this stream, everything from the railroads to the factories to the victory conditions to the warfare to the tech tree. Look at the tech tree. Look at the civic tree. It is packed full of cool shit. This felt like civilization was building and bubbling and boiling to like a momentous conclusion to your game, which has never been how Civilization has felt. It would be a huge achievement if you feel in Civ 7 that you are building towards a natural final and like climax to the game instead of just like chipping away at something at the very end. The way Civ always feels, this is reflected in what like Firaxis says about the data. It's reflected in how people say they feel about Civ. I'm always surprised to find out how many people have played Civ, enjoyed it, but never actually finished a game. You get to the beginning and you're excited. It's a 4X game. You're excited to expand and explore, and that's really great. And then you get to the mid game and you're excited to like build up a little bit, but then you get to the end game and it's just tedium. It's just tedium and it's confusing and you're not sure what's going on, and it's just hard and you're just chipping away at a victory condition, and it already feels locked in. Like you already know what you're going for, you already know what you're doing, you already know what your enemies are doing, so you're kind of just like clicking through until you actually get that victory screen. All the proof is in the pudding. Maybe the game doesn't play like this, but that's certainly how the Modern Age stream felt. It felt like it was building off the last two to give you a monumentous conclusion to your game. Every new thing that they added felt cool. Like the factories felt like, oh my god, we got to factories. Like, oh my god, we got to railroads. Oh my god, we got to bombers. Like it didn't feel like you were just adding stuff on. It felt like it's like evolving a Pokemon. It's like you got your Charmeleon and now it's Charizard and you're fucking stoked about it. You know what I mean? And every aspect of this game felt streamlined to remove the tedious clicking through everything, to make it feel like, oh, I've got this cool, like I've got railroads and I can use them. Like I don't need to buy military engineers and then get them on tiles and then spam the railroads and keep track of my iron and my coal. Like you can just, like the Modern Age just gives you a bunch of cool shit and then you can just do it, and it's awesome. And that might not be at all how this game plays, and if it isn't, I'll be disappointed at this point, but that is how it felt. And I was not expecting it to feel that way. Every single minute for this 90 minutes, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh my God, that's so cool. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Right? I felt better about this stream than I have about the other two. This was a huge achievement in terms of getting me hyped for this game. I almost wish I had more worsts to like bring the hype down, but I'm always an honest broker with y'all. I'm not being paid or anything. So these are just the things that I liked, and I liked a lot more than I didn't. Let me know what you thought about this live stream. Let me know if I missed anything. I'm sure you probably picked up on something that I missed in terms of what you liked or what you didn't like. Let me know in the comments below. If you really disagree with me, definitely let me know in the comments below. I love reading those, but also algorithm engagement, etc. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you all being here. There's going to be more live streams apparently, so I will be back for the next best and worst if they do another live stream. Until then, happy holidays, everyone. Only like a month and a half, 2 months now until we are playing Civ 7, which is so exciting. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.